Unfortunately, I waited for something drastic to happen before my warrior was lifted to fight for what was important. Before my diagnosis, I was a builder. I felt lost throughout the building trade. I felt as though I never really fitted in. I just felt as though something was missing. My diet was shocking. It was a typical builder's down the cafe, full Monty breakfasts and also bakers at lunchtime. My wife is just amazing. I just can't fault her in the slightest. When Archie, my little boy, was born, I never realised that it would affect me that much. It just changed my life. When he was first born and I first saw his face, and then we just locked eyes as the nurse was holding him up to pass him back to my wife, and just the smile and the happiness, and can feel the emotion even now. It made me feel just gooey and just happy and love, and just having that bundle of joy within my arms was just incredible. When I first noticed that something was wrong I was really tired. Every single day seemed to be a struggle, and eventually I did go to the doctors. When they first done a blood test, they realised that my tumour markers were way over 100, and we got called into the oncology office. We looked around the room and there was the oncologist and also 5 other people within that room, and we knew that something was really, really bad. They informed me that I had stage 4 cancer, and they also said it was advanced, incurable. And I remember my wife looking at me with tears and said, "I don't understand. What is stage 4? No one else in the room answered, and I had to turn to my wife and say, "There isn't a stage 5. I felt a failure. I felt as though I let my family down. I felt as though I let my little boy down, because I was basically told I wouldn't make his 5th birthday. And the thought of him being on his own just tore me to pieces inside. And my wife, watching her break down as well, was probably the worst thing in the world. Life had stopped at that moment, and everything was on slow-mo. And then we came out of the coffee shop to go and pick our 4-year-old little boy up from school. And when he came out of reception and ran across that playground with all smiles and happy, both me and my wife turned to each other and said, "We need to fight this all the way. No matter what it takes, no matter how hard it is, we will get up every single day and do what is necessary for that little boy." And I remember those first days of having chemotherapy. I've never felt so sick in all my life. The week after the chemotherapy, I had stomach cramps. It felt as though I'd drunk petrol. The burning sensation within my stomach, within my throat. My eyesight felt blurry. My speech had actually sounded as though I'd been to the dentist. So we started buying books off of Amazon. We started to download podcasts, listening to audiobooks, and trying to get as much information in about cancer and about the alternative medicine. We changed pretty much everything in our lives. I cut out all processed foods. I cut out all alcohol and all sugars. And I found that I could actually tolerate chemo a little bit better. I had more energy. I found my mood swings wouldn't drop out and it would stay on more of an even keel. And it was only small increments of change. But because I was so low, I felt those differences come up. And because we'd changed our diet, I felt as I had the energy to go for a walk. I remember my first walk, because I had actually read a lot of research about movement and getting outside in the fresh air whilst going through chemotherapy. And I went for my first walk, and when I came home I was so tired and it really drained me. But the next day I got up and I went back out for another walk. And then I went like that probably 4 or 5 days, and I thought, I wonder if I could run. I remember when I used to be able to run, and I thought, I'm going to try it. I never told my wife because I knew that I'd be totally told off by her. And I remember lacing up my trainers thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this. I really cannot believe I'm doing this. And I went out and I probably ran 50 to 100 meters and I had to walk back. And I thought, oh my God, how can anything drain you this much as what cancer does? But I came back and I went to sleep. And then the next day I got up and I went back out, laced my trainers up and went back out the door. And I ran for 150 meters. And then I came back and the same, really tired, I went for a sleep. It just kept going on and on like that until I'd built up to the point where I was running 5K every day. Had chemo a couple of hours ago, feeling really tired and nauseous today for some reason. Can't guess why, but I managed to do a 5K, which I'm really pleased about. So I kept pushing it day in and day out until I was at the point where I was running 6 miles every single day. I would go to a hospital and have chemotherapy. And I would actually go in my running gear and then I would run 6 miles home. Just had chemo today, still managed to run 5.5 miles, and I got the pump on for the weekend as well. So I entered a 10K race, managed to do that in quite a good time, and then I thought, right, time to give it more. So I signed up for a half marathon, and then I signed up for a marathon. And I've just managed to do 17 miles, 2 days after chemo. It's not bad. Another achievement this morning, just ran 50K in under 5 hours. And the first marathon I'd done, that happened to be the day after chemo. And I ran a 4.5 hour marathon the day after chemo. And I was so stoked just to think I'm going through all this and I'm still here and I'm still breathing and I'm still thriving. I think it was about a month into my diagnosis. I'd already had a couple of rounds of chemotherapy, and my sister-in-law's husband gave me the Wim Hof book. And he said, I don't know whether it's going to help, but you never know. I remember the first cold plunge. And I remember getting into that water and the feeling in my toes and the cold that just overtook my whole entire body. It was brutal. Trying to think, why am I doing this? And then I'd think of my wife and my little boy, and I'd be like, well, if I'm still here, I'm still gonna try. And we said that we would try absolutely everything. And I think I lasted 20 seconds in that water for the first time I'd done that. But when I did actually get out, I could not believe how invigorated my skin, my body, my mind actually felt. As I was doing cold plunges regularly, I really felt my energy levels ramp up from not doing cold to plunging. I noticed it because obviously on chemo, when you've got cancer, most people are on an even keel here and you're all the way down here. So every little bit that you put in place just brings you up that little bit. So you do notice the fragments of differences. Doing the cold plunge was just quite a big jump, and I noticed quite a big surge of energy on a daily basis to be able to get up, make my juices, take my little boy to school, be with my wife, go for a run, and just start to enjoy every single thing in life. I started doing saunas, and I'd alternate from being in a sauna to a cold plunge, or just having a cold plunge, or just having a sauna. And I found just having that was another level that brought me up even further. And I remember doing a podcast with Wim Hof.
Hi Marcus Jarvis.
And he sent me a personal message after that to say that you've got this.
Marcus Jarvis! Keep up the spirit, because you are a torchbearer. You know it, I know it. We gotta beat this thing called cancer in any way. No speculation, spirit is on, you can do it, you are the man.
I remember after diagnosis, my first checkup was 3 months, and according to all the stats, I should have been dead at that point. But my CT scan had actually shown a reduction in the tumours on my liver. Blood markers had started to come down. My energy levels have gone up. My overall skin and health had actually improved. since my diagnosis. And there was no chance of surgery when I first got diagnosed because my cancer was far too advanced. But I remember my oncologist phoning me up and she said, we've put your case forward that because the tumours had shrunk quite considerably, we might actually be able to do surgery. And eventually, 6 months later, they actually cut me open and done surgery and removed 60% of my liver and the last 6 tumours. But unfortunately, when they done the CT scan after, they'd missed a little piece which was still showing up. So then I had to have another 6 rounds of chemotherapy. And at this point, I had already had 29 rounds of chemotherapy. We just wanted to party. We were so happy that a year of real hard work and struggle had got to this point where there's a possibility that we've just got to keep on fighting and pushing forward. And my wife actually had a glass of champagne for me because I'd cut out all alcohols and I refused to go back to drinking just even a glass of champagne. The last round of chemotherapy, I remember my oncologist saying that once this is done, because we missed that last piece of the tumour, we'd have to go back in and take that last bit out. Just in the hospital now, just ready to go in for my 35th and final round of chemo. So today is a very nice celebratory day. I remember having my last round of chemotherapy and my wife actually ran home with me that day from the hospital and they'd taken the PICC line out and I remember the joy and the relief knowing that I'd only got to go back for one more surgery. I didn't want to go back for surgery, but it would have been just that one more piece. And then we had the CT scan. And I remember being called back into the oncology office. Dr. Donovan said to me, Marcus, I don't know what you've done, but the CT scan has shown that last tumour is gone and has shown that there is no more sign of disease. And I am pleased to say that you are now cancer-free. For me and my wife to sit there and hear those words, you just cannot imagine how relieved we were. I just wanted to scream. I knew all the hard work that me, my wife, my little boy, and my family had put in over the last 2 years was worth it. I remember picking our son up from school. We were all hand in hand and we said to Archie that we are now in the clear. We no longer have cancer. We no longer have to do hospital appointments. And he just jumped up and gave me the biggest hug possible. And he just held on to me. And he said, I'm so proud of you, Dad. To see my son grow up, considering I was virtually told I wouldn't make it to his 5th birthday, is the most incredible thing in the world. My main outtake from this, I certainly wouldn't change anything. Even though I had to go through the cancer diagnosis, my life has changed for so much for the better. If I was asked the question whether I value life more now, the answer would definitely be yes. I live life every single second of the day, whether it's with my family, my friends, my little boy, or whether I'm just on my own, meditating or running. Everything in my life is important. Listen to your body. Listen to your mind. Understand and take time for yourself. We all have the potential to awaken a warrior within inside us. Thank you so much for listening to my story.